We are group 3 and we did our presentation on Nike. So, for over 57 years, Nike has been inspiring athletes around the world with innovative products. They've hit many highs and lows throughout the past years, but in the end, they are currently the leading brand for sportswear and athletic apparel. And in 1971, Nike was valued at $1,200, and now we're currently valued at over $34 billion, thankful to its marketing efforts. And to understand the impact that Nike has made on the world, our group is going to be researching their existing marketing communications campaign. That's going to allow us to evaluate the current path that Nike's on and then provide alternative courses of action. We will then evaluate the courses of action that we suggest to understand what each method will accomplish. And then we'll provide a final recommendation on Nike's integrated marketing campaign, and that will conclude our report. But we hope that this research is able to provide insight on how Nike can reach an even larger audience in the coming years while holding true to their original values.
All right, and now we're going to talk about Nike's existing integrated marketing campaign. So, some strengths. So, obviously, we all know that Nike has really, really strong brand awareness, partly because it has a simple and recognizable name and logo. And it's the number one leading athletic wear brand in the world. And it has 31% of global athletic footwear market right now, which is awesome. Going along with that, it has a huge customer base. It is also aimed for sustainability. So, CEO Mark Parker has acknowledged that there are some environmental issues when it comes to Nike, and he's dedicated Nike to solving these problems. And we'll talk a little bit more about this and weaknesses as well. Um, and then products are thoroughly researched, and there's very strong marketing. So it mostly relies on demand generation expenses. And last year, it spent $3.5 billion on marketing. Some weaknesses of Nike. So there is unethical labor conditions in foreign countries. It's also highly dependent on US sales. So last year, 41% of Nike sales came from the US, as opposed to 59% from around the globe. So they're really, really heavily reliant on US sales. They are also overdependent on sporting apparel. It is a sporting apparel company, so it's not too diverse. And with the pandemic, it does discourage sporting events that could, expose Nike. So it does kind of hurt them a little bit. And then this is going back to the sustainability. Um, so there is a dissonance in ideals. So the CEO, he launched this Move to Zero promise, and it promised 100% renewable energy. But Nike has always kind of consistently valued innovation over sustainability. So a lot of people are thinking that it could just be a marketing stunt. So if Nike does want to get better, it should be decreasing this dissonance. Now we have some opportunities. We have emerging markets in India, China, and Brazil. It is cutting ties with large retailers in order to form a better customer experience. And this is really, really big for Nike because it's increasing direct to consumer sales. Same goes with becoming more digital. So because of the pandemic, 35% of brand revenue came from online sales, which is really, really good because it's cutting out that middleman. Um, and this will increase profits, obviously, but it also provides for immediate feedback and direct responses. Some threats, as with any big company, counterfeit products are tarnishing brand image. There's also competition with other large athletic brands, Adidas, Puma, Under Armour. Um, and all of these companies are actually spending a lot more on advertising than Nike is. And it's increasing that pressure on Nike to spend more on advertising. So there's a debate on whether or not to do that. And then also global recession that's affecting revenue and profits. So the main takeaways for the existing campaign is that they're very, very consumer oriented. So the CEO of Nike, Mark Parker, said, "Everything we do starts with the consumer. It's our obsession with serving the consumer that sharpens our focus and drives our growth." So, going along with that, there's been a recent focus on enhancing the customer experience both in and out of Nike stores. There's a debate whether or not to increase Nike's marketing budget to match competitors. And then Nike heavily relies on US sales, and they must end dissonance between their values on innovation and sustainability.
All right, so next we're gonna do an evaluation of Nike's current campaign. In order to do this, we're gonna talk about their promotional mix, which the promotional mix deals with advertising, personal selling, direct marketing, sales promotion, and public relations. So to begin with advertising, Nike presents and forwards their brand to the consumer. And this results in their advertising influencing consumers' perception about the brand and their products. In order to do this, Nike relies heavily on using celebrities and professionals with partnerships. So the connection an individual makes with the celebrity using that brand's products creates a stimulation for them to be motivated in order to buy products from that brand because they'll eventually think that they'll receive that same satisfaction that the celebrity experienced. This allows for a stronger brand image and a higher demand for the company's products. Next, we have personal selling. So, personal selling happens in all of Nike's brick and mortar locations. They have about 1,096 locations. Nike really focuses and tunes in on training their sales associates in order for them to have a high level of knowledge in order to help make that purchase with the consumer. Personal selling really contributes to creating a great customer experience because it leaves that consumer feeling confident and happy with their purchase decision. Next, we have direct marketing, and Nike really uses this by using other organizations. So this approach helps to market their own products, and they use organizations such as colleges or sports teams. This helps persuade consumers to become familiar with the brand because they're associating that sports team or that college team with that brand. Nike also uses a loyalty program where you can rack up points on every dollar you spend in order to have a coupon in the future. Also, they give discounts to college students where once a month they send a 15% off for their whole purchase. Next, we see sales promotion. And Nike does do a few giveaways, and they really do their giveaways through their social media, so like Twitter and Instagram. And this sales promotion helps create a growing demand for the company and build up that brand awareness because people are sharing this giveaway with their friends and also interacting with it so their friends and family can see that as well. Next, public relations. Nike tends to do this when addressing social issues. So Nike will host events and activities to reach out to their target consumers and their current customers when regarding social issues and the actions that the company plans to take. This helps to form a bond and create trust between that customer and the brand through similar values that they hold. And for example, Nike did this with the Black Lives Matter movement. They created posts and things on their social media. And they also use public relations to connect with stakeholders. So in order to discuss the current and planned actions that can benefit that company and the stakeholders themselves. Next, we're going to talk about other successful features that help towards Nike's success. So first is their logo. So Nike has established a recognizable and well-known logo, which is the swoosh. This logo has made the organization one of the most successful and valued brands. Nike also tends to do a lot of investing in those key markets. So they own Converse and Jordan. And they also tend to stay updated on trends, which allows them to retain their competitive advantage against their competitors. So like Under Armour and Adidas. Nike has a lot of success, but they do have room for improvement, which every company does. Nike's room for improvement is in like their children's and women's department. Their marketing there is seen less of, which they could build up and be able to go into those other segments as well and have high revenues there. Also, they also need to keep up with technological tips and innovations for their app. they're seeing more people tend to make purchases through the app. So they want to keep making sure that it's the most easy and friendly way to use it. Overall, Nike has shifted from that core message approach to a more storytelling mode, which has been very beneficial and positive for the brand. It helps create that authenticity and a sense of belonging. Nike reaches millions of people all day, every day with their marketing style. So overall, they're doing a great job.
Next is our alternative courses of action. First, we recommend that Nike should increase audience engagement via social media channels. This means increasing clicks, likes, shares, and screen time on its social media. To do that, the brand should create branded out-of-door games that allows a lot of interaction with the audience. Second, Nike should use more storytelling, emotional ties into advertisements across all platforms, which means bringing in emotional connections to athletics and athletics apparel. Nike can utilize the growth in the women's sports industry and make more emotional ties to their female audience. Also, Nike should use more up and coming stars instead of the well-known athletes. This allows the audience to build a relationship with an athlete from the start of their career, resulting in affection and respect that can only grow over time. Third, Nike should employ a global approach for their campaigns. This means using the standardized approach and marketing to countries together instead of countries individually. This allows the brand to make its marketing efforts cost efficient. Lastly, Nike needs more push for sustainability. One of the examples that they can do is encouraging the audience to recycle older products and using some of the elements for new products.
I'm Jake Dames, and I will be doing the evaluation of the alternative courses of action. For the first suggestion that we had, we decided that expanding the social media outreach and creating a game to share amongst users would be ideal and effective. Two pros with this: it creates a culture of sharing among the users. That means that your friends are playing the game and you're sending it back and forth to each other with that Nike brand attached to it, creating them as the marketers essentially. The reward-based games could stimulate sales, as to use a discount, you need to buy a product in the first place. This could increase revenue for the company. One con of this idea is Nike is already such a strong social media presence that this could seem overbearing to users and a little much. The next suggestion that we had was to create emotional bond through promotion, and we decided that the best way to do this would to include more female athletes and rising stars instead of superstars. This would be effective because there is a rise in popularity for female sports and athletes right now. I think that we as a country and world are appreciating females' athleticism more and more each day. And female athletes are becoming household names, essentially. Also, for the Rising Stars idea, dedicated fans would love to see rising stars instead of the same superstars that you see in every commercial. The problem with this is that if you're not a fan of the sport, these female athletes or rising stars might not be just common knowledge to you. This could defeat the whole purpose of a celebrity endorsement if the majority of the people don't even know who you are. Finally, our suggestion was to enhance corporate social responsibility. We were going to accomplish this by taking a green initiative and a shoe recycling idea where you utilize old beat up shoes, you recycle the materials into new silhouettes and new styles. Taking green initiative would help with public image. and of course saving the environment. That Nike could reduce their carbon footprint as a company by keeping these materials out of landfills. The only problem with this is the shoe recycling idea may be too expensive and take too much effort to be profitable. I would assume that the shoe would have to be quite expensive in order to be able to make this profitable.
Our final recommendation for Nike: Nike can gain sales and goodwill through expanding their women's basketball brand. Women's basketball is a growing market that's getting bigger and bigger every year, with this year's NCAA tournament seeing the highest numbers in their history. There's a new era of up-and-coming stars in the women's game, such as Paige Buckers and Haley Jones, who are revolutionizing the game and bringing in more fans. For Nike to capitalize on this opportunity, they'll need to rebrand the women's basketball section, featuring up-and-coming stars and how the game is changing.
So this is the conclusion to our presentation. Nike has been inspiring athletes for decades. The Nike swoosh is one of the most iconic symbols around the world today. The company does a lot to innovate as well. They're always thinking about what they can do next and what can be different, but sustainability is sometimes in question. But regardless of that, they're viewed pretty positively in the public side. They have a lot of celebrity endorsers like LeBron James, and they're very socially active. They support a lot of the movements that are going on in the world today. Things they can improve on, that would be social media campaigns that could utilize that better. They should include more storytelling and advertisement campaigns, and they should do a better job at branding across markets. And most importantly, women's basketball. They should definitely invest more into that. But that's the end of our presentation, and thank you for listening.